Привет, мой гетеринский, добро пожаловать в Hetatheory. Сегодня я говорю по-русски. Just kidding. I'm not confident enough in my Russian skills for that. Anyways, you thought I stopped doing theories, didn't you? Think again. Today we are going to explore the twisted, eerie world of our big-boned friend Russia. I've talked about this a couple of times in a few other videos, but today I'm really going to go into why Russia really hates winter. Keep in mind that this is just a theory. I'm not putting together some hidden mystery in Hetatheory using all my facts that I've accumulated. This is just for fun. First, let's talk about Russia's love-hate relationship with General Winter. General Winter, the personification of Russia's winter, has saved Russia numerous times throughout his wars. And before you ask, Russia's winter was called General Winter and was personified before Hetatheory. But that is the only time that General Winter has helped Russia. Every other time, he's always battling Russia. It is also stated that Russia also hates very hot weather. Hemaruya said something along the lines that since the weather has warmed up over time, quote, maybe Russia will melt. First, let's take a look at Russia's past. The main reason why he's so mentally messed up canonically is due to his dark history. In canon, it is stated that since his childhood, he has been tormented, constantly pursued, bullied, and forced into servitude by other countries, and has experienced many tragedies and wars at a very young age, and of course, was attacked by General Winter every year. Let's take a look at some of his character songs. The majority of his songs are about winter or mention his winter. 4/5 of his songs to be exact. Let's take a look at some of the song lyrics. These are going to come in handy later. First, let's start with the most recent song, The Story of Snow and Dreams. Very clearly about snow. It's about him making some sort of journey in the snow, being lonely, asking a wolf if it's his friend, and then he'll keep walking until he meets that dream. The dream is most likely about making friends. Some of these lyrics are deeply concerning. Quote, where water and vodka and even tears are frozen in place. Let's move on to White Flame. Alright, today's the day I finally somewhat interpret this song. There's a reason why the song is 17 minutes long. What that reason is, I'm still not sure. But I'm not going to go through the entire song today. This song is about Russia's childhood. The lyrics are very vague, but it seems like throughout the song, while searching for friends in a winter storm, again, he also seems to be singing about his immaturity and looking for something that is still alive in the tundra. In the second chorus, there is and then there's a long dialogue that he has. So I don't get copyrighted, I will read it. During the season when life slumbers, we endure a long, long solitude. If I listen close enough to the frozen presence beneath the snow, I imagine there will be some signs of life somewhere. Is it a way to overcome the scars of the idleness received throughout the years? Is there any meaning in playing alone? It is not particularly a problem. We are confronted by the destiny we have accepted a long time ago. As though I was conspiring, I just wear a clueless expression. My true self is disguised. My grief is confined. Someday it will become the truth. But even if I held no interest in this abyss of life, my heart keeps a dim despair. That's because I cannot find the answer by myself. It's cold. Since it is so cold, not many living beings are around. No one wants to attack with the raging blizzard. And while it does bring a bit of relief for Russia, he's pretty much alone all winter. Quote, as I listen for frozen beings underneath the snow, I imagine there must be a sign of them somewhere. That line probably means he's looking for plants, animals, anything that is still alive. The winter kills a lot of plants and animals all hibernate or migrate. So except for General Winter, who keeps attacking him, he's alone in the frozen wasteland. Even in a recent comic, it shows that because it's blizzarding so hard, no one can come see him on Christmas. The winter wards away people, the thing that Russia desires so much. And there is a point in the monologue where he just wants to give up and just die. But he can't. And then there's the sun. He prays to the sun because the sun brings warmth that will eventually melt the snow and end this. In the end, he talks about how the white flame, probably the harsh snowstorm at this point, envelops everything. Now let's move on to the obvious winter. The lyrics are again very vague, more vague than white flame, but I think he's singing about being trapped inside his house during winter and experiencing that winter depression, because he's looking out his window and it's dark. And he probably goes outside for a bit only to be blasted by a snowstorm and just go, nope. It seems like a lot of these songs are about a snowstorm. You couldn't find anything else to make a song on. Is there a reason why there's such harsh emphasis? But I think there is another reason, a darker one, why Russia describes his winter as a nightmare. First, we need to determine just how harsh of a winter is he suffering through. Just where in Russia is he? He should be in Moscow, right? Well, he talks about wilderness. So let's take a look at where he is with some history and the clues in these songs. First of all, he is alone, meaning his sisters are gone, probably living with Lithuania. It must have been after the Mongols, because in 1227 all three of them were under Mongolian control. Afterwards it fell apart. Lithuania got Belarus and eventually Ukraine. In 1283 the Grand Duchy of Moscow arose and Russia was finally free from Mongolia, but his sisters were gone. And he was pretty much alone until the Russian Empire, which began in 1721, and Russia started to become more, friendly with the other nations. So that is almost 500 years of loneliness. Plenty of time for looking for friends in the middle of a blizzard songs. Now, let's see where he is. In the story of Snow and Dreams, he talks about how vodka and tears freeze where he is. So what would it take for tears to freeze? Actually, since tears are salt water, they cannot freeze inside your eyes, hence why your eyes don't freeze in cold temperatures. So it takes a lot to get tears to freeze. However, one source says that if it is below -3 degrees Celsius and the wind chill is right, and you have been standing outside for long enough, which Russia clearly has, your tears can freeze to your eyelashes. Your tears cannot freeze to your face because your face is warm, and in order for your tears to freeze to your face, you would have to be dead. So where in Russia do winters have an average of -3 degrees Celsius? Because we all know that Russia isn't suffering through a harsh blizzard in warm Sochi. Taking a look at this map, we can see that Russia could be pretty much anywhere, because majority of places in Russia do have winters that are far below -3 degrees Celsius. And according to this map, winters he would be facing would be between -8 to -35 degrees Celsius, depending on where he is. The coldest temperatures on Mount Everest in the summer, when people usually climb, is -19 degrees Celsius, and many people have frozen to death there. That is cold. In some of these songs, it implies that he watches the sun rise and feels the warm sun on his face. Shouldn't he be inside? But if he was really wandering in the woods alone in the middle of nowhere Russia, where is his shelter? Sure, he probably has a small cottage, but in these songs when he talks about, while reaching out for something towards the brink of losing my breath and drowning, laying on the ground, listening for life, waiting for the sun to come up, the eeriness of whenever he talks about the sun setting and the wind picking up and the blizzard starting. In a few songs, it is implied that he can't see anything due to such a thick snowstorm. So it isn't a stretch to say that Russia has probably frozen to death while he was outside. To put into context just what Russia is experiencing, I'm going to quote Finland in the Hetatheory show. He tells his story about how he fell through a frozen lake and talks about how they, quote, as countries can't die, however, it was still a very scary experience. After all, we also feel pain like humans do, and being in constant pain yet being unable to die is the worst. That's what happened to Russia. And since he was probably in the middle of the forest, it would be very unlikely that anyone came to save him. And since hypothermia causes you to become incredibly lethargic, he can't just move. He's stuck there, constantly freezing to death over and over and over again. It would also not be a stretch to say that while he was at war, some of his soldiers that he was with froze to death as well. And these people actually die from hypothermia. Being so small and watching everyone around you slowly die from hypothermia, that's dark. Oh, come on, that's a little bit of a stretch, Kalko. Is it? Russia even says that he likes seeing people fight and argue and experience drastic emotions because, quote, it reminds him that they are still alive and that he is not alone. Also, remember when I said that tears can't freeze to your face unless you're dead? This song states that the tears freeze in place. Just let that sink in. His sister's character song even implies that they've been through this too. Whether it was him along with his comrades that froze to death, either way, Russia has a totally justified reason for hating winter. And that was one mark higher on your history test. Thank you for watching Hetatheory.